Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the stories by our military veterans. Get yourself ready. It's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox. All right. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another podcast. This is part two of my veteran story with Chris Travis, Marine veteran. I'm very excited to have him back to complete this story, and I'm sure you are all just waiting on bated breath for him to finish this. I will say that if you want to be a TLA patron and you want to support our cause here and try to help us throughout this, go to the website. There's a patron button. You can click on that and you can become a monthly patron if you want to for donations. If that doesn't suit you and you want to do a one-time donation, scroll down a little bit. There's a link for that. Hit that link and you'll be able to donate. Any donation is appreciated. It helps us continue to do what we're doing here and get our veteran voices out for everyone to hear. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, email me, the Lost Art with Andrew Cox at gmail.com. That's the Lost Art with Andrew Cox at gmail.com. All right. Without further ado, we have Chris back. Chris, how you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm well.
Awesome.
I got to ask, could you have found a longer email address for that?
I worked very hard to.
I'm sure you did.
I tried just the Lost Art, and somebody already took it, and I was like, "Dang!" I was like, so now it has to be the Lost Art with Andrew Cox. So now you have to get name.
Hey, it's marketing, bub.
I'm gonna say that was the genius behind it. It was not, but I'll say it right now.
It's nobody else is going to know our secret.
Good point. Just us.
Yeah, just us. It's just us. Just a couple guys. Just chatting it up.
That's right.
We're gonna do.
All right, man. Hey, last time we left off, you had just transferred. So September 11th happened. Several months later, we're talking like 3 months later, you're on your way to 1st Marine Division Band.
Yep.
So why don't you tell me, like, what was that experience going into the 1st Marine Division and getting ready for, we know that something's going to happen. We know there's going to be a fight. So what was that like?
Yeah, man, it was such a culture shock, if you will. I mean, when I get in there, I'm used to growing up in Evansville, Indiana, real small area, very southern tip of Indiana. Then I'm in Beaufort, South Carolina, little Beaufort, little community. And then I'm, got everything I own in the back of an extended cab Ford Ranger coming across Interstate 10 or the 10, like they call it out on the West Coast.
That's right.
I come up over the hill and all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's Southern California. I'm coming into San Diego and I'm in 6 lanes of traffic, like, oh my God, what am I doing? I got my Ford Ranger loaded down 5-speed, got that thing to the floor. Like, oh, what am I doing? I got motorcycles flying past me. Cause again, I've learned about motorcycles and now in California you can white line. And so now I'm, driving in 6 lanes of traffic and like, what is going on? Culture shock. I get, I'm pulling up on base. And again, I'm used to Beaufort, coming down the causeway and nothing. And then there it is. The base has its own exit off the 5, to pull in the front gate. And having known, my buddy Will from Parris Island, and he's there, I'm going to stay with him for the week until I get checked in and all that jazz. And he's kind of got to get me set up there. And I'm calling him and then I pull up on base and it's another city. I mean, 1st Marine Division, Camp Pendleton.
Yeah.
Parris Island. Camp Pendleton, Parris Island. It's just one of those, the culture shock. It's unbelievable. And that time that I still had a week before I had to check in. So I'm getting the lay of the land. I had the ability to meet with, with some of the staff NCOs there, met Will for lunch, and he was then had been promoted to staff sergeant. I was a sergeant. I meet some of those guys. I'm meeting some very intimidating Marines. Good old, retired Master Gunnery Sergeant Yaphet Jones, Grape Ape. You know,
That's right.
he was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm with First Marine Division. Back then in the early '90s. Then he's been on, MSG duty, and here I am. I'm a sergeant. Nothing's really gone on yet. 9/11 happened, but you got your normal band rack and your good conduct and your nuck and your muck and all
Yeah.
that jazz. And then here's, at that point, Gunny Jones rolling 12
Two
deep.
rows of two rows of
Yeah,
medals. Yeah.
yeah. He's got 3 rows of 4, and then another. I'm like, golly, what did I get myself into? And I had the privilege, and luckily of the band officer there was retired Chief Warrant Officer 5, Michael Edmondson.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Parris Island, and then he ended up going to Pendleton as well. He was a band officer there at Pendleton. So I
Nice.
had some familiar faces. So I was kind of comforted in that sense. But just like I said, the big thing was the culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a recruit depot. Now I'm at a division. Um, and so it wasn't intimidating, but it was definitely eye opening.
Yeah.
We had at Buford at Parris Island, we had one recurring gig on base.
Yeah.
Morning colors, recruit grad, morning colors, recruit grad. Again, insert side A, press play, and repeat. So I mean, you had battalion change of commands, reliefs and appointments, morning colors on all the different areas at Pendleton.
Mm-hmm.
Just the vastness of what it was great, and again, eye opening as a young single Marine, living in the dorms, living in the barracks there.
Yeah.
There at Camp Margarita, Area 33 at that point. I think they've since changed.
No, there's
But
still
it
there.
is still Margarita. Okay.
Yeah.
But the band hall's there now, where it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Where it wasn't. I was still up in. I can't
the old
remember.
one,
Up
the one that's
Vandergrift. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
supposed to be
right.
torn down. Yeah.
That's right. Been there forever. Had no heat. We're yeah. So I mean, that was again. It was eye opening. I was trying to again now change course on a lot more training with the division, training with different battalions.
You're talking weapons training and
yeah, I mean
that instead
everything.
Of the music side.
You're setting yourself up, and it was actually kind of cool because I got there. I left Parris Island in December. I got there January of 02. I left there December of 01, got there January of 02. Well, the Winter Olympics was in Salt Lake in 2002, and First Marine Division played at the Winter Olympics. So I've been there like 2 or 3 weeks. Hey, we're going to the Olympics. We're playing. So had that fun stuff. But then we also knew, we were getting our military training kind of amped up, going through heavy machine gun training. And as the First Marine Division, hey, every Marine is a rifleman.
That's right.
So, and there's particular bands that have secondary, jobs within the Marine Corps. So with the division, we turn into a heavy machine gun platoon. Third Marine Aircraft Wing was getting over there. So we knew something was going down, and we were getting ready to kind of amp up to get deployed. We kind of knew, all this was coming. We're doing more training. We're, doing more stuff with the heavy machine guns, the 50 cals, Mark 19s, the 240s, setting ourselves up. We're no longer fire teams. We're gun teams, and doing a lot more training within the teams and getting that, not only camaraderie there, but becoming that well-oiled machine, um, not just within the band ranks,
Right.
but as a platoon and knowing everybody's role within the platoon. Um, just kind of getting ourselves, and we're still young and dumb, and we have no idea what to expect and what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Um, and again, we had, at this point, I was still, young and single, and I ended up coming home that summer of '02, come home back to Indiana, and end up getting set up on a blind date
Okay.
by my mom.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah. Mom knew what this guy needed.
Yeah. Makes sense. Moms know
an accountant. I needed an accountant. Me and a good buddy of mine, my roommate there, we had an apartment. Still, great bud, Neil Tusing.
Oh yeah, Tusing.
Hell, we've got an apartment. We both got our motorcycles. Living paycheck to paycheck, writing a check to Domino's on a Friday, knowing that it's not going to get ran till Monday.
That's right.
All that stuff. Well, I get home and mom's like, I got this girl I want you to go out with. That girl has now been my wife for over 20 years now. We just hit 20 years. So just I met this girl, go back out to California. She comes out and visits. It's long distance. We don't expect anything of it. And it kind of amps up a little more than what we were. I don't know that we were expecting, but a little quicker than we thought.
Yeah.
And at this point, late 2002, we knew, we knew the band was going to have a job, being deployed. And it wasn't going to be with our instruments.
Yeah.
So we're amping up, getting ready to go. And I just felt this tug and ended up, 7 months after I meet this girl on a blind date, we get engaged. A couple days after the Rose Parade, got my first deal with the Rose Parade, go to that. And then we get engaged, the 3rd of January of '03. And 21 years ago, today, as we're talking, 21 years ago today, 12 February, we're wheels up, flying out of California to good old Kuwait.
Nice.
And with a little layover in Shannon Island, and then we're in Kuwait. So yeah, we building up and doing all the training, and it was time to utilize that training. We couldn't second guess anything.
So let me ask
you. Please.
Being a bandsman, I know for me personally, I was like, it's never going to happen type of deal. So when you showed up, now you're on a plane, you're flying over, you've done all the training, you've got all your heavy weapons, you got all the stuff. What was the feelings that you had as you were like, hey, we're on our way to combat right now? Like, what was that?
Yeah. Sorry. And if you got to believe me, I was scared shitless. I mean, sorry, but yeah, we're nervous. We're surrounded by other Marines that this is all that they did. You got your machine gunners, your grunts. I mean, we've got those. You've got that nickname of Pogues, and that's what we were. Hell, we ended up getting a nickname while we were out there. TFB.
Yeah, that's right.
TFB, you're asking around there, and politically correct, we decided that we were, politically we were a task force band. But no, every time we come up on a convoy, we're stopped. Hey, who you guys with? We're with the band. Where you can insert whatever F word you want, but we were the band with a question mark, exclamation point, question mark. But I mean, that was our job.
Yeah.
We had, we were with Motor T and Admin, and we kind of, we were the security, convoy security and perimeter security of Headquarters Battalion, 1st Marine Division.
Yeah.
Mounted Humvees, Mark 19s, 50 cows, and then, 7 tons.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, occupied the vehicles of the Quick Reaction Force,
Yeah.
QRF, that was there for all those convoys. We were in, like I said, we flew out February 12th. Well, my group did at that point. We all got together, and the instruments. Well, they did go with us because we ended up doing playing some gigs out there. But yeah, we were not there as musicians. We were there as Marines.
Well, the instruments on Xbox, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep, they were there at Connex, and we played some. We did have some, Babylon, things of that nature. We played some concerts for for the Marines that were there. We did a parade in Babylon, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Again, the things that you remember there. But yeah, we set up and gosh, I remember doing exercises going up to the Kuwait Iraqi border. And so we would set up and we'd make a day movement up to the border of Iraq. Still there in Kuwait, we'd do a day movement up there. We'd set up our position, dig our holes, maybe stay there for a couple of days. And then we'd get the call at, say, let's just say 2100 local.
Yeah.
9 p.m. local. I don't remember Zulu, but hey, we're rolling in 2 hours out of here. 2300 local. We're rolling, and we'd make a night movement back inland. And we would do that 2 or 3 times. Where one night, while down and kind of closer, inside of Kuwait, hey, we're making a movement back out, and 2 hours later, we'd go back up to the border. We'd go in there at night, and then we'd leave during the day. And what was going on? And there was a couple of officers that would kind of roll around. And I remember asking one of them, I said, "Hey, why are we making the day movement, then the night movement back?" There's an LPOP, an Iraqi LPOP, up on the border. And so we were kind of playing mind games. We'd go up during the day, and they'd see us come in. And then, one morning, they'd look out, the sun would come up, and we'd be gone. Where'd they go? And then, one night they're watching, and then sun would come up. They're there. What are they doing? It's kind of those mind games.
Right.
We play there. And I still remember doing that stuff. And we thought, we made a day movement. This one time, it's probably our third movement up to the border. We make a day movement. And then I remember a major came up to us, to our position, said, "Hey, here in about 45 minutes, take your night vision goggles, take your NVGs, and look up north. Look north to to Iraq." I said, "Why?" He said, "You'll find out." And I still remember looking at those NVGs. I can close my eyes and picture it there. I mean, it was like 4th of July. That was been March 21st. Actually, it was March 20th.
That's when they bombed, or they were bombarding.
That's right.
Safwan Hill.
That's right. Did the JDAM bombardment in Baghdad and Ramadi, and all those other places of Saddam's known summer palaces, no summer or just known residencies, through there. And it's about 3 hours later that we went through the border. They had a big, trench barricades. They had a big berm. That the Seabees blew through, and there we are in Iraq. We thought this was just a normal, hey, we're going to end up going back into Kuwait. Nope. We were out. And so I remember, here it is, March 21st. We're going across there. All of us like, hey, we're in it. We're in it. This ain't no training exercise anymore. We're in it. But it's, some of the things you don't, not that I don't remember and not that I want to forget or anything. It's just, you have those things that you remember. And that buddy of mine, my roommate there, Neil, his birthday is March 22nd. And
Oh, wow.
we were never sure. And so a few of us kind of got some stuff. So we had some MRE pound cakes, and we grabbed an O'Doul's or two from the chow hall or where we were, its
Yeah.
position there, and had a match. And, we had a birthday in Iraq, for my buddy,
Yeah.
Pound cake, all of us looking at each other like, what the crap are we doing? Um, wearing full mop gear going into it, not knowing kind of what to expect. And then honestly, we hit a couple of positions throughout that, making our push as a kind of rear echelon up to Baghdad.
So
Following, yeah,
just to make sure I'm tracking right, this is the initial
please.
invasion going into Iraq, and got the infantry's up front, then
yeah,
kind of
RCT 5, RCT 1
guys are. Yeah, and they're moving forward. You're following behind as you're moving up toward Baghdad. Is that right?
As support element, yeah, with headquarters battalion, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going. We make like I said, 4 or 5 different positions going through there, and I believe it would have been April 7th. It was April 7th that we ended up in Baghdad.
Okay.
We go in there. We kind of set up in there, I guess what they consider their secret police headquarters or whatever, one of their military training areas there. That's what we took over and ended up, staying in Baghdad for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Different exercises, different patrols. Basically being
that when you guys played a little bit too.
Yeah, we did towards the end. We never really played in Baghdad. Maybe internally there, but we did go to Babylon. We played a little bit in Babylon, which was one of those that you remember. That I'll always remember being able to see some of the ancient ruins of Babylon.
Yeah.
With the biblical history, the king's room, the throne room, if you will, or whatever, King Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
The ruins there, but then being down in the ruins there of Babylon, and then looking up and seeing another one of Saddam's palaces up there, and then going up there and seeing how strategically he built his palace above those ruins.
Yeah.
But seeing just how the ruins still remained, the brickwork.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can still picture it, just different. And there was animals built out of bricks, like the bricks, like they shaded it. It's unbelievable there. But playing a concert there in Babylon and playing parades, and I can look back at old pictures and seeing us with parades, and the staff NCOs got their 9mm strapped to their leg, and NCOs have their M16 slung on their back, and with their instruments playing there. I mean, I don't know, just the weird stuff that you picture and see. And so we were there. I want to say 3 weeks to a month. May. We ended up getting back in June. We got back to the States. We retrograded back down from Baghdad to Diwania.
Mm-hmm.
And we were probably there for a couple, 3 weeks. We still had guards and, and had everybody had their post and kind of watching out there, but wasn't too much in a security mind frame at that point. Although we did have a pretty good sickness come through. I think all the Marines, I lucked out. I never came down with it, but probably 90% of the Marines there came down with, I think we called it Saddam's Revenge, I believe is what we called it there, if you will. Yeah. I mean, guys were down for the count. But yeah, we were there and we ended up coming back in June of 2003. So it wasn't a long deployment, in the grand scheme of things when you look at, so we were February to June, July type deal. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, you get back from that deployment, you come back to the States. At
Yep.
this point, what is the atmosphere? What are you guys doing? Those types of things. I know that's about the time that I started showing up, was right about
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, that's right. It was about that time. And it was like, culture shock again,
Yeah.
okay, we've been in such a, a, a high stress environment
Mm-hmm.
that now you got to gosh, I remember there were times that I was at the mall. We were just kind of walking around in the mall, and weapons retention is huge.
Yeah.
When you're
Mm-hmm.
deployed, um, and I'd go into a store in a mall, and then I'd walk out of said store, get her to walk back, and then I'd start checking my stuff, and
Yeah.
I'd run back in the store like where's my rifle?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? And then at that point, I'd gotten engaged back before we deployed.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance at the time was still here in Evansville. Got back, and we got married in September.
Okay.
Got back, and then I moved her out to California
Mm-hmm.
in October. Let's see here: October, November, December, January, and then 3 months later, after kind of trying to go back to a band setting, go back into it, and at that point, because of the continuation of Marines leaving and Marines coming back,
Mm-hmm.
the band was going to stay. We weren't going
Yeah.
to get deployed again.
Right.
We weren't going to do it. We'll stay back for the farewell ceremonies and the welcome home ceremonies and things of that nature. Well, the commanding general of the First Marine Division at that point, Brigadier General, good old James Mattis,
That's right.
Mad Dog, Chaos. Um, he decided that no, he was going to have his band. His security detail was coming back with him, and at that point, we were setting up for a second deployment.
Mm-hmm.
I moved my wife out to California. We're there for 3 months, and then February, a day after I went the first time there, and
Yeah.
there was a few flights of us
Mm-hmm.
that went. We get deployed a second time.
Yeah.
And then that's where we
That's
started
right.
our relationship there that summer of '02 or of
Mm-hmm.
'03 when you got there, and then
Yeah.
yep, that's when we got to do our deployment together.
I remember whenever I got orders to one more dev. You guys were deployed, and I'm like, oh my god, man, I'm coming in. I'm gonna like I'm boot. I know nothing. This is horrible. And I remember checking in, thinking these guys are gonna annihilate me. And it was not that at all. You guys pulled me in and you coached me up and you
Yeah,
slapped me around. I needed it. It was fantastic. I didn't have any issues. And thanks to you and everybody else that was there, they did that. So it was good.
we had such a great team,
Mm-hmm.
there. And you're right. I mean, honestly, I didn't even think of it. Coming from your standpoint there, that
Yeah.
hey, these guys, this unit's already done a deployment.
Mm-hmm.
They're already in there. They're tight.
Mm-hmm.
And here I'm going to come, not break up, the party, but I want to be part of it too. Let me
Yeah.
help me. But we did. We had, God, that group of Marines. Uh, Man, we had a tight group. It was
Yeah.
fun. Had such a tight group.
Yeah. It was a good experience. I will say that. Um, Now that the second deployment went to Ramadi, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
uh, and you, I know for a long time you worked up at the front gate of
Correct.
was it Camp Blue Diamond at that point?
Yeah, Blue Diamond there, and like right there, I think we call it like Junction City, right there across the
Mm-hmm.
Euphrates.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were Camp Blue Diamond, and yeah, that's what I did. And this deployment was much different than our
Yeah.
first deployment, because that was the initial push. We were constantly on the move until we got to Baghdad.
Right.
This one, we were in one pause.
Mm-hmm.
Now we may bust out the gates for a random patrol, or
Yeah.
things of that nature. But our job there was guarding the base.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, still a sergeant at the time, staff sergeant at that time, staff sergeant, Trace Martinez,
Yeah.
was up there. Him and I think it was just the two of us.
Yeah. For a long
Um,
time, it
we
was
kind
just
of Yeah, I think we I don't even remember the title of it there, but it was, we worked the front gate. There's a
Yeah.
lot of third country nationals that came on base, a lot of contract work that was going on, a
Yeah.
lot of money that was coming in and out of the
Yeah.
base there,
That's still a lie.
Um, and and that was a really cool function, to see a lot of that because there was a lot of technology that was going in at that point. We were kind of trying to do set up a biometric scanning on
Yeah.
that. I mean, and here we are in the middle of Ramadi, Iraq.
Mhm.
We didn't have any kind of secure area, so we built an office right
Yeah.
there at this front gate. And again, this was the front gate of, again, one of Saddam's summer
Yeah.
properties.
Yeah.
He had a palace. We ended up calling that the JDAM Palace
Because it got
because
hit.
that's the JDAM missile there.
Yeah.
And in fact, I re-enlisted March 11th.
I
When
remember
we
that.
got there, I re-enlisted in front of the JDAM Palace there,
Yeah. Yeah. It
which
was
was
on top
really
of it,
cool.
wasn't it?
Right in front of it, yeah,
In
up the
front of it. Oh,
steps, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, we, Trace and I, our job was to um, vet and maintain who was coming in and who was coming out,
Right.
and manage a group of young Marines that their job was to guard those nationals, right? And then not really guard them, but watch them as they were on our base,
Yeah. The
type
escort 'em.
deal. Escort, yeah.
Yeah.
Third country, yeah, escorts there. So we did that, and it was a different there. I mean, what, you were a sergeant of the guard, so you were, all of our Marines
Hmm.
that were ours were, posted up along there. No, you guys kind of did, perimeter security there, whereas I went
Yeah.
with Trace and we did that. But I guess theoretically, I kind of had it easy because we had that 9 to 5. It was only during the day there, you
Yeah.
know. And hell, when you guys were, because I mean, I think it was like you, me, and Jose Espinoza and
Yeah.
Alex Bush,
Yeah.
and I think it was just the four of us in our
It
room
was.
that
Yeah.
we had with the bunks. And
Yeah.
so, hell, you guys would have duty, and you'd be out, in the middle of the night, and you're doing that stuff, and I damn near had the room to myself. I mean, I kind of have my own place there.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
which is kind of cool and then kind of scary to begin with, because I mean, there wasn't a shortage of incoming artillery that was
Oh
still
yeah.
coming on that base.
Hmm.
Um, and here I am, and I'm kind of by myself, got incoming artillery. Like, oh gosh, is somebody going to know I'm here?
Yeah.
But anyway, we ended up, that was kind of our job. We just we
Hmm.
secured that base, and that's what we did there. But then, doing what Marines do, we were, were you a, were you one of the martial arts instructors at that time, or was it
No.
Rob and Yaphet?
Yeah.
It was,
Robin, y'all.
yeah, it was Rob and Yaphet, and we were doing, MCMAP training as Marines do.
Yeah.
I think I just come back off of a patrol or something. I don't remember. And we were still, we needed to wind down. We couldn't, so we're doing MCMAP training,
Yeah.
doing all that stuff. Well, I ended up getting shoulder. We were practicing the shoulder throw for green
Yeah.
belt,
Hmm.
practicing the shoulder throw, and it was my turn to be on the receiving end of the shoulder throw,
Hmm.
and I ended up getting thrown, and whoever it was that was throwing me slipped. To which case I ended up landing awkwardly, and my hand ended up behind my back,
Yeah. Dang, I
and I
forgot all
ended up,
about that.
yeah, I ended up at that point when we were doing it, I thought I just jammed my thumb.
Hmm.
Next morning we wake up, get her to go out to post, and I think it was the band officer. Um, he saw my thumb, my left hand, and it was damn near the size of a softball. It's like, hey, we need to get you down to see the corpsman. And then the corpsman's like, yeah, we're going to send you across the street to the Army medical setup there. They had X-rays. They did an X-ray,
Yeah.
and I ended up breaking my thumb, my
Yeah.
left thumb. This bone here, I ended up breaking it in 3 spots.
Oh wow. I didn't realize it was three
And
spots.
yeah, And he was like, "Hey, Sergeant Travis, hey, I'm sending you home." What do you mean you're sending me home? I broke my thumb. Oh
Yeah.
well. I was carrying because of our position there, I was carrying the shotgun and a 9 mil.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I still remember, like, what do you mean I'm going home? I broke my thumb. You got guys getting, whatever. I'm not going home.
Yeah.
And he says, take your 9 mil out, put a round in the chamber. And I remember being a smart ass. And I was like, what makes you think I don't already have one, sir? I mean, we're in Iraq. So I tried to put a round in the chamber. So I grabbed it and I go to put, and I couldn't put
Yeah.
any pressure on my thumb there. And I couldn't grab the slide to rack around in the chamber of the 9 mil. I was like, that's all right, sir. I got my shotgun. I grabbed the shotgun from the back and I racked it. Scared the crap out of him. So long story short, I went home.
Yeah.
I was, and I have, that was the most upset that I had been in the longest time.
Yeah.
I'm there with our Marines.
Hmm.
We had a great group of sergeants that were leading our platoon, and I did not want to leave.
Yeah.
But hey, I ended up having to. So I ended up getting flown to Balad.
Hmm.
There, it was like, gosh, it was like a 02 local time. Get on a helicopter there in Blue Diamond with everything that I had.
Yeah.
Said bye to you guys, and
Hmm.
then jumped on a helo, went to Balad, and then from there took a C-130 to call back to episode 1 of our
Hmm.
talk. My father was
Yeah.
born at Ramstein Air Force Base in
Yeah.
Landstuhl,
Yeah. Yeah.
Germany, because my grandfather was there. I ended up getting flown to Ramstein Air Force Base in Landstuhl, Germany.
Wow.
And so that's where I was. I spent a
Huh.
week there. They had to they didn't want to perform surgery or anything on my thumb. I ended up having to get pins, but they
Hmm.
couldn't do anything there. I mean, they could have, but then you have to wait for this swelling to go down and to get me back to the States.
Right.
So I was in Germany for a week. I think I was able to talk to you guys maybe once that week while I was in Germany.
Yeah.
Um, and I will tell you what, those German Hefeweizens hit a lot harder when you're hopped up on Percocet and not having any alcohol for about the
Yeah.
first,
I can imagine so.
yeah. Yeah, I ended up going to Germany and then spent a week in Germany and then getting flown back to San Diego. Um, to which case I had surgery there. They put 3 pins in my thumb,
Hmm.
and then was kind of the lame duck, if you will, there at the band hall while
How
everybody
many?
else is deployed.
How many were back during that time?
Honestly, man, I do not remember. A
Yeah.
bunch of new hires. Yeah, I'm definitely back in the civilian world. A bunch of the new guys there.
I think
Um,
Mariking was there, right? Mariking, Rob
no,
Mariking.
no,
He wasn't there yet.
Hufford, Gunny at that point.
Okay.
Gunny Hufford was their
Yeah.
guy.
So he had just shown up
Um,
there.
he had just shown up. Yep, yep. And then a bunch of young Marines coming back from the school that
Yeah.
there wasn't enough time to send them out, so they stayed there. So I kind of played platoon sergeant there
Hmm.
while I was back, and waiting for you guys to come back.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
When you came back, leaving everyone early,
yeah,
it's never a pleasant thing,
no.
right? Uh, how did you handle mentally and all that type of stuff when you got back? Did you have a hard time with that? And if you did you get help? Like, was medical there to help you along the way?
I it wasn't a. I did have a hard time.
Yeah.
Uh, Internally, to my own of my own doing.
Yeah.
But I do remember. I can remember my wife was working. We had after I got back home and she was working. We lived on base up there at the by the front gate.
Hmm.
Um, but there was an artillery battalion uh, that isn't too far from from that first from the front gate there.
Yeah.
And I remember still being on kind of light duty, and I got back home early. We shut the unit down for a bit, and I'm sitting there on my couch and just watching TV, and then artillery is doing training.
Mm,
And I remember, kind of freezing up
yeah.
and sitting there, and I just kind of had to. I don't want. I don't want to make it out more than what it was. Like I had to talk myself down or anything. That wasn't the case. I don't want to make not really make light of it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's be honest with what we did. But yeah, there was still that moment of a freeze.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
move, and then I just kind of had to calm myself down. I'm like, bro, you're sitting on your couch watching TV. You look out the window and there's the ocean.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like you're home, and just kind of be able to do that. This is still really early in the Operation Enduring and Iraqi Freedom phase,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the PTSD and things of that nature wasn't really talked about at that point. It was still new. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
still we're 20 years, give or take. We're turning 20 years from Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was back to being a new topic.
Right.
So I didn't, not that I couldn't have, but I mean I didn't seek any help or anything, and I never, I never considered it,
Yeah.
because we didn't hear anything about it. But then again, I don't want to make light of it and say I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but everybody goes through that stuff very differently.
Yeah.
Um,
You're right.
you and I could have gone through and kind of did go through the same thing, that second tour, my
Yeah.
second tour there. We were in the same area, we saw the
Mm-hmm.
same stuff, but our mental makeup is different.
Yeah.
We have different upbringings. We're different. We're different people. We're different guys.
Yeah.
Um, and so what may not be a big deal to me would have been a huge thing to you,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
vice versa, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. So everybody's got to know kind of their own self, and know what that tipping point is, and kind of like you close all of these off with. I mean,
Yeah.
if something doesn't feel right, if you just feel off and
Mm-hmm.
you're not exactly sure what it is, I'd call, talk.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a hotline, you've got buddies. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, again, social media is running rampant. I mean, you can get a hold of anybody.
Yeah.
There's stuff out there.
I will tell you,
So,
for me, when I got back, and my wife had told me for years and years and years and years, she's like, "You're not the same,"
yeah,
uh, and I
yeah,
was. And I'll be honest, I didn't get help till way later,
yeah,
and we're in the last like 3 4 years type of deal.
yeah,
And when I finally went in and started talking to a therapist and stuff like that, they were like, "Yeah, you got some issues or whatever."
yeah,
And once I started to realize kind of where they were coming from and what they were saying, I was like, "Yeah, you're right. All
yeah,
these years I've had some
yep,
some issues." I mean, not that it was bad or anything, but it was
sure,
still, it was something that was there that I never dealt with.
yeah. It's and that's interesting to think of. I never, like your wife. I mean, gosh, you guys are what, high school sweethearts, and
Yeah.
Carlene, you guys have known each other, so she knew you before and
Yeah. Yeah.
after. Um, gosh, I think my wife and I think we were married for 5 years
Hmm.
before we had more time together than apart. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
because she was back here, and so she really didn't know me before.
Right.
My parents did, but they still, after high school, I moved away.
Yeah.
So I don't know what changed me more, just being a Marine in general, or
Hmm.
any of that stuff there kind of hardens you, or it
Yeah.
kind of makes you numb to certain
Hmm.
things. I mean, gosh, we got back, in '04, and I remember the band, we ended up playing like a 4th of July. It may have been, I'm trying to remember, it would have had to been '04, because I left summer of '05, Pendleton. So it had to have been there. We played the summer concert in Escondido, 4th of July concert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And And at the end of the concert, they got fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a group of us back behind the stage. We didn't want anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I remember when I left Pendleton, there I ended up, summer of '05. And it was my time to leave. I ended up going to Albany, Georgia, and I ended up getting there that summer and doing another, summer concert there, and
Right.
kind of the same thing. But now the difference between with that is that I'm in a logistics base.
Yeah.
There's, no, but besides, again, the band officer followed me, or I followed the band officer,
Yeah.
Mike Edmondson there, it was him and I, and eventually we ended up having some other Marines came over with the Air Wing, had
Yeah.
some deployments, but there was only, instead of having an entire unit that knew what we were all going through,
Yeah.
we had like 3 or 4
Yeah.
in that unit
It's
there.
different.
And
Huge.
where they're sitting there and oohing and awing and, fireworks
Mm-hmm.
going on. We're playing Tchaikovsky's 1812, playing with all that stuff. And it's taking everything that I have, to keep that horn to my face and keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and what pisses me off is that pisses me off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I got pissed off after. I was like, dude, what are you doing? You're
Yeah.
home. You're here. And there's still some, some summers that'll just sneak up on you. For the longest time, I had no issues during the summer.
Yeah.
4th of July in particular, never had any issues. Then I remember this past summer sitting there on my back patio with beer in my hand, sitting there. My boys are lighting all sparklers and little things there. And then, down the road, somebody lets off this massive firework. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it. And it stopped me in my tracks.
Mm-hmm.
For a minute. My wife kind of had to, hey, are you okay? You okay? I had to go inside for a bit. It's little things. And it, like I said, it pisses me off that pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. And that's really a normal reaction to those types of things. And everybody, like you said, reacts differently to those situations.
Yeah.
I know I had a rough time for several years with 4th of July. I mean, I remember standing in my house looking out and like, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And I bolted back inside. I was like, you're on your own. Enjoy it. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always
fun.
Right. So you're at Albany now, and you've been in how long?
9 years.
9 years?
Okay. Yeah, 8 or 9. I think 8 years. 8 years, because I ended up re-enlisting in Iraq in '04. Like I said, there for another 4 years. Okay. So I've been 8 years.
Okay.
8 years at that point.
8 years in, you're a sergeant still. Knocking on the door of staff sergeant though.
Yep.
And then what was your experience like in Albany? What all went down there?
Again, that was very different. Again, going from Beaufort to the division. Now I'm going from the division in California back to, Albany, Georgia.
Right.
I went to check in. I'm in my alphas, service alphas there. I'm checking in on base. I got, the base sergeant major. I'm checking in with him. And, he's just perplexed that, a sergeant checking into his band, has been deployed and has got all that stuff,
Yeah.
And then I remember leaving base and going back into town, wife's in the hotel, and I stopped to get some fast food. So I'm going from the division. Everybody knows they're in San Diego County and Oceanside. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm in a drive-through, let's just say a McDonald's. And, oh, are you in the military? Yeah, I'm in the Marine Corps. Oh, really? Where are you stationed? Here. I'm stationed here in Albany. There's a Marine base in Albany? That's how that was. So quite different there.
Yeah. Huge difference.
Yeah. And that's the point that I started, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I told myself, all right, I'm re-enlisted now. I've re-enlisted for a second time. I'm staying in. That's it. And just going to have a good time with it. And started deciding I wanted to go to the drum major route.
Yeah.
Wanted to pick up the mace. I've done some gigs in Pendleton. Mm-hmm. I've done some recruit graduations at Parris Island. So it's time to decide what I want to, further my career. I want to go the drum major route.
Right.
Um, so, came in there and it had great leadership there that allowed me to kind of pursue that, become the assistant drum major,
Mm-hmm.
and get my feet wet there while still playing my horn, still singing, still doing a lot of singing
Mm-hmm.
there. I'm also playing with the Albany Symphony
Mm-hmm.
within the community. So kind of getting my hands wet in everything.
Yeah.
And about, I guess it would have been 2006, 2007 time frame. Had a, I don't want to call it an issue. I'm not finding the correct word I want to say it, but I was the assistant assistant drum major
Mm-hmm.
and the platoon guide.
Yeah.
And the drum major was the platoon sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the assistant drum major, platoon guide. I had been selected and promoted to staff sergeant at that time. I was
Okay.
promoted December of 2005.
Got
I
it.
get there summer of '05, get selected in September of October of '05, and
Mm-hmm.
then get promoted in December of '05 to staff sergeant. So I guess it's been '06, summer of '06, have an issue in the band. And I go from being a low brass section commander,
Mm-hmm.
assistant drum major, platoon guide, to coming in the morning. The band officer calling me into the office and says, "You're the drum major and the platoon sergeant." We
Hey.
had an issue there.
Yeah.
Um, aye, sir.
Yeah.
And and then at that point, my job completely changes,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm the drum major, platoon sergeant, and now I'm in charge of, and
Yeah.
being the administrative head of
Mm-hmm.
the unit, dealing with all the correspondence with sponsors and setting up and
Yeah.
scheduling all these gigs and doing all that legwork for that, and then being the one with the mace
Yeah.
and having a good time with it. And I just made the best of it, made the best of it as I could,
Mm-hmm.
and was planning on going to the CCDM course. I think
Yeah.
they had changed it to the ULC course at that point. It was the ULC Unit Leaders course.
Yeah.
Um, but then my wife was pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
expecting our first, and then had our first child. And he was born Groundhog 2006,
Uh,
Groundhog Baby, Groundhog
that's
Day 2006.
my wife's birthday, February 2nd.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yep. February 2nd. And priorities started changing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my son, and yes, no more deployments, at
Mm-hmm.
least that were in the what we saw there. But we were constantly traveling, man.
Yeah.
We were constantly gone. My wife wasn't enjoying it anymore, kind of being away
Mm-hmm.
from home.
Yeah.
And I, kind of put me at not didn't put me at a crossroads, but I was at a crossroads there, and I had to, what was most important.
Right.
And I knew that, I was like, look, I get out, Marine Corps is still going to be here. They're pretty strong.
Yeah.
They could do without this guy,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
They're
know.
gonna keep going.
And
Yeah.
it was time to make that decision. That it was time to get out
Right.
and you know do what was best for my family.
Right.
So I did. I did in 2008, 2009. One of those.
Yeah.
Got out of the Marine Corps and
And then
joined the civilian sector.
you went back to Evansville at that point.
Came back to Evansville, Indiana. Yep, sure did.
Okay.
Sure
Now
did.
tell me
I came
about what
back.
happened after. What did you do?
Yeah. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm good at sales. I can talk.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a real estate agent.
Okay.
We had to buy a house when we came back home anyway. So, and I was a good friend I was a good friend already from the past before the Marine Corps, the real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of talked with him, and I got my real estate license. This was 2008,
Mm-hmm.
probably the worst time to become a real estate agent. At that point, especially being new, a new agent, been gone from the community for 12 years.
Yeah.
So that lasted about 6 months till I had to kind of throw in the towel, say, okay,
Yeah.
this isn't it for me. And I actually went to work for AT&T.
Okay.
I did that, slinging cell phones for a little bit, still being in sales, having a good time there, and kind of changing jobs. I sold cell phones, worked for AT&T, worked at a
Yeah.
um, car audio place, and a power sports. This time I did start, said, you know what, I need to start going with my education. Started using my post 9/11 GI Bill.
Yeah.
So started getting my worked on my bachelor's in
Yeah.
business management. Started working at that, and then my wasn't my brother-in-law at the time. He was my sister-in-law's boyfriend.
Got it.
Um, called me up. He's his family. It's a family-owned company in the oil and gas industry,
Yeah.
and he, we're talking, having a couple of beers, and he's like, "Hey, man, I got a job for you." It's like, "Hey, man, thanks, but dude, I don't know anything about the oil and gas industry. I'm a musician. I'm a salesman."
Yeah.
I said, "Good, you don't have any bad habits. I'll teach you everything you need to know." And 12 years ago today, I started working for an oil and gas company, managing. We call it a pumper, in charge of, monitoring leases and making sure
Hmm.
an oil lease, pumping units. And now I'm currently the field superintendent of our service company,
Yeah.
kind of running a team of guys
Hmm.
in the oil and gas industry.
That's
So
really
yeah,
cool.
and I'm still, when I got out, there's only so much John Philip Sousa, French horn player, can play. So many
Yeah.
offbeats, and I kind of got turned off, and I put the horn down for about 5 years, and then actually had a local horn professor who was actually a former Air Force. She was in the Air Force band
Okay.
playing horn. Met up with her and started playing again, and she kind of got me playing again. And
Nice.
I still kind of locally, I sub every once in a while. I'm for the local orchestras kind of in
Hmm.
the area. So I
That's nice.
still try to play quite a bit as well.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
I know that was probably a rough go at the beginning once you first got out or whatever, but
Yeah.
perseverance, continue on. So
Yep.
so some of those traits that you learned in the Marine Corps probably helped you persevere through that to get where you were with the oil and gas industry, and then
100%.
push the leadership parts for that
Yeah.
as well.
100%. It's, knowing that you're not going to know everything,
Yeah.
the biggest thing, but being able to kind of adapt and
Hmm.
figure things out,
Yeah.
overcome, you know, any issues that you may have, try to figure out, all right, how am I going to be able to accomplish this?
Right.
Um, but a lot of the main thing, excuse me, is just the self discipline.
Hmm.
This job, the first job, is nobody was out there with me. I'm on my own.
Yeah.
Being able to have the self discipline and time management to be able to accomplish everything without anybody kind of down on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's really, really big.
Yeah.
So, as you look back over your time in the Marine Corps, your time after the Marine Corps, even, and you look back, what is the advice that you would give young men and women as they're getting ready to venture out and do what you've done in the past? Like, what would
Yeah.
your
My biggest thing that I've kind of pulled from it is expect the unexpected. Um, you can lay out the best laid plans,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, and we know planning all of our movements, our patrols, our gigs, planning all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff out. You can have the best laid plan out there. Something's going to change.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hey, we're flying out for this gig, and the gig's at this time. The plane's leaving at this time. No, it's not. The plane has an issue,
Yeah.
and trying to think on your feet. Um, and I mean, and we know that's going to go for anything and everything.
Yeah.
I can plan out my day. Gosh, we started the day off with the plan of the day.
Yeah.
It's got everything, leveled out. 0730, 0745, 0830, 1130, 1300. We had all those times laid out.
Yeah.
Something's going to change. Something's going to come up, and you've got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to adjust your time. You can't be so hamstrung on being able to accomplish that specific thing. Gosh, I mean, in my industry right now, I can have a plan, and I'm trying to manage 3 or 4 different jobs all at the same time in
Yeah.
different, not only in different cities, but in different states. In
Right.
Evansville, I'm like right here. I've got Illinois here, and I got Kentucky here, and Indiana, and I'm all right there.
Mm-hmm.
And something's going to come up, and I'm going to have to be able to adjust course. I'm going to have to do that quickly and efficiently.
Yeah.
Because here, in the civilian sector, the more time that my guys are waiting around to hear their next instruction, that's more time on the clock. I got to pay them to sit around and wait, wait for
true.
that. Not me, but you know what I mean? They're waiting around. The more time that they're waiting around, more time it's costing the company money that they're not making that there.
Yeah.
And it's and in different deployments, whether it be, deployment out to a gig or deployment out, Oconus, you can't wait around. You've got to be able to make a decision quick, because something is going to change. Guess what? It's not going to, you can make a great plan. Something's going to change inevitably. And you've got to be able to think on your feet and make an educated decision based off of the training that you've done prior to that.
Right.
You train on changing things.
Yeah.
And be able to, utilize that stuff. That's been my biggest thing, is that you've got to be able to roll with the punches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how you roll with that determines, how successful you're going to be.
True. Yeah. And you're right. It changes it no matter where you are. It's going to change. Yeah. Yep. 100%. I didn't think I was gonna be doing podcasting, a month ago, 2 months ago, or whatever. But here I am. I'm
here you are.
So gotta love it. Awesome. Hey man, thanks for joining me on this. This has been a blast. It's always good to talk to you and just hear stories and reminisce and stuff. And giving some lessons learned to those that are coming up behind us. And then it's a good deal. And anytime veterans can get together and talk, I think that's a positive thing for the veteran community.
Yeah, man. So, continue the stories. Continue. We gotta carry our stories on. Somebody's got to tell it.
That's right.
Somebody's got to tell it.
Be you, right?
That's right. Might as well be you. You can be the narrator of everybody's stories.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, I do appreciate it. Thanks to you. Thanks to your family as well. You guys are very successful. I'm proud of what you guys have been doing. So it's keep it up, man.
Thanks, man. And hey, congratulations to you, brother. Congratulations on a phenomenal, successful Marine Corps career. Got 25, 26 years?
25, yeah, 25.
Yeah, I would hit 26. I've got to live vicariously through you. Being able to continue on. Like, I know that, one, being a drill instructor and now being then being at the school, kind of, continuing to push forward those, the Marines of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Both at the recruit depot and then at the school there, being able to put your thumbprint on the Marines of tomorrow. So congratulations to you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's been a great time, and I'm excited to see what comes next. And you are always a part of my story. So just always remember that, man.
Yeah, bud.
All right. Hey, to everybody out there, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, veterans, if you're struggling, you need to seek assistance. Go through the VA. They have an incredible website. They got incredible things going on. You can dial 988, then hit option 1. and they'll put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. You can also do text if you want to text 838-255. Again, that's 838-255. And of course, for all the younger generation, if you want to get on and chat and that type of stuff, you can go to the veteranscrisisline.net. Again, that's veteranscrisisline.net. All you got to do is click the little chat icon and somebody will be there to talk to you. It's all anonymous. You only have to talk about what you want to talk about. But they're here to help. And one veteran life loss is one too many. So I care about you. I know Chris cares about you. Everybody does. We're here for you. So just reach out and ask. And if you need anything from me, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll do everything I can for you. But Chris, thanks again. I appreciate you being here, man. To everybody, stay motivated, change your socks.